Hello, I'm Brad Kelly, and you're listening to Method and Madness. This is a show about books, the people who write them, and the labyrinth to be explored between the words.
Have you ever heard about Willie the Weeper? Had a job as a chimney sweeper. He had the dope habit and he had his band. Listen while I tell you about a dream he had.
J. David Osborne is the author of... Actually, how many books is it? I was trying to count, and I sort of lost count.
I don't know. I think 7.
7? Okay, right.
Yeah,
Because you got some co-authors in there too. Like you and Kelby wrote at least one book together.
If you add up the halves, it comes out to 7. Yeah.
7 books, awesome. He's part of the Broken River Collective, co-host of the Agitator podcast, and host of the brand new Broken River Radio podcast about the craft of writing. Got one episode as far as I know. I mean, you just started, but I listened to that yesterday. Really enjoyed it. I love what you're doing there.
Cool.
Most recently, his novel Gods Fare No Better has been making a hell of a lot of noise on the indie circuit, and he has a new novel. Barely set one book down, and there's a new JDO book on the way called Berserker Club, coming out on December 1st of this year. So maybe we start there. Like, tell us a little bit about Berserker Club.
So Berserker Club is a book about a group of, I call them separatists. Their political leanings are very intentionally obscure, because it's tough to do. It's tough to do correctly without turning it into a weird caricature. But they're weirdos who want to be away from other people. And they're in the back, if you could call it backwoods, the back prairie of Oklahoma. And they're stockpiling guns and they're preparing for some kind of apocalyptic event. And one of the members has a brother with a drug problem. So he brings his little druggy brother into the commune to try to get him clean, but the druggy brother basically calls his skinhead friends to come and steal their cache of weapons. Yada yada yada. A lot of crime stuff happens. I like crime fiction a lot, so that's kind of where I come from. But basically, there's also a potion that their crazy leader has been brewing that turns them into monsters. So the back half of the book is whenever they drink it, they turn into their archetype. So there's a guy, who's really horny and obsessed with e-girls and stuff, and so he turns into like this dripping semen demon. And there's a guy who turns obviously into a deer god type creature, as you do.
That's awesome.
It's kind of it's the back half of it is like Power Rangers fights.
Awesome.
So it's like half crime, half tokusatsu, Kamen Rider type shit.
Yeah, no, dude, that sounds absolutely rad. And so I've been thinking about different ways of asking this question, and it's some attempt at making a more sophisticated question than where did you get your ideas from? But what was maybe the earliest seed of this book, Berserker Club?
For a book like Berserker Club, man, that is such an interesting question, because I was telling you a little bit off mic about how it started off as a script that I wrote for Low Res and that like couldn't get made. But it's such a good question because I don't know. I sat down and it just started coming out. So whenever I have any kind of project that I'm working on, God's Fare No Better is actually a really good example of this. It basically, sorry, my phone went
I did
off.
the same
That's
thing
bad
just 5 seconds ago. It's all right.
So basically anything that I'm interested in at the moment works its way into the book. So in Berserker Club, you'll be like, oh, this is the part where David was obsessed with Tetsuo the Iron Man, and this is the part where he was obsessed with Aphex Twin, and on and on and on. But with Berserker Club, I think it was I had just really gotten into tokusatsu, which is a Japanese genre. It's like Power Rangers basically, but there's Power Rangers for grown-ups too, if you want to call it that. But just the idea of a guy who can turn into either a robot or a monster and fight other monsters was very cathartic for me. and I just was like, let's mash this stuff. I really liked the movie. What was it called? Standoff at Sparrow Creek, I want to say,
I never
is
saw
what it
that.
was.
Yeah.
It's like right-wing militia type crime movie, really good. But I thought, hey, let's mash these things together. But in terms of the ideas, it's always a mixture of a kind of a current thing that has my attention, but also I have a really strange relationship to story in general. I tend to think of story as almost like a ecological phenomena, right?
Yeah.
And so George R. R. Martin has a thing where he talks about there are architects and gardeners when it comes to storytelling. That's his version of plotters and pantsers. So architects plan and build cathedrals, and gardeners kind of allow things to grow. And I'm a gardener. I'm a super gardener. But I also tend to try to have as much of a hands-off approach of the gardening as possible. So I just kind of let whatever wants to come through. It's more like these forces of nature that I don't really want to figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know that. Yeah.
Like if you think too much about it, it's like finding out. Remember when David Lynch released his clues for Mulholland Drive, and he's like, "Pay attention to the blue box," or like he had a little one sheet that he sent out. That was cool. That's totally fine. I'm not bagging on that at all. But if you had somebody sit you down and explain to you what happened in Mulholland Drive, you'd kind of be like, all right, it's cool in the way that the puzzle pieces click together. But I like the movie less now.
Right.
Because all these answers were kind of given to me. So that's sort of how I approach my stuff. I become so obsessed with an idea that it can be very annoying. Because I can be working on a project that I've become a little bored with.
Sure.
And then like the new hot girl walks in and I'm like, sorry, baby, like we gotta end that. I mean, look, I gotta go see what's going on over there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
something I'm working on.
Yeah, and there's definitely like, yeah, I am totally familiar with that feeling of, and I think this is one of the reasons why writers sometimes don't like to talk too much or too directly about the thing that they're working on, because I feel like you can like almost like blow out your enthusiasm. It's like spend all this time like thinking about it and, sort of collating influences, references, and maybe research that you did, depending on what the project is, like bringing all these sorts of things together and then getting it on the page. And then if you like having a couple beers with your buddy and you like lay out the whole thing, I've encountered this before where like the next day you're like, I kind of got the juice of writing it and I didn't actually write it. And now I'm sort of like, I don't care as much as I did 24 hours ago.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So if
I feel that totally, man. And the thing is too, is I've taken this to kind of an extreme where I do like to put out kind of a general outline, but it's more just getting me in the mood. Mm-hmm. And when I go to write, I've gotten to the point, and this took a while to hone this skill, because usually if you have an idea of like, there's always a punchline that you want to get to in the book, a part of the book that you think once the reader gets to that point, they're gonna be like, fuck, that was badass.
Right.
Turning that off.
Yeah.
Like, first draft, where are we going?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Like in Berserker Club, I went down so many different rabbit holes. I became obsessed with like mud drilling, right, on oil rigs, and how they make that gel solution that goes down the drill and brings rocks and stuff back up. I don't know how I heard of it or why I was interested in it, but I decided that my character needed to have been this kind of chemical engineer in their past life. And so when you're going into a book and you know that it's loosely about a militia, skinheads, and Power Rangers, there's not much room in there for mud drilling.
Right.
But you have to, I don't know, you have to be like, this is what I'm into now, so this is what the book is now. Yeah. And I hope that gives the book, or all my books, kind of a neat organic feeling to them. Right. A kind of tonal shifting to the books where it's like, I'm not marching straight forward towards this.
Yeah. And
But
not
I do want to say
everything's
also,
fitting
yeah,
too neatly together either. Like
correct.
there can be like
Yep.
there can be a, and this isn't always the case, but there can be like a thing where if all the pieces fit together too neatly, it's like it feels overly clever somehow, and it, yeah,
Right.
it loses like that sort of musicality, that like
Hmm.
that spontaneity feeling, whatever. Yeah, you're talking about mud drilling, and so that's I'm a in my other life I'm a geotechnical engineer, and so
Hmm.
I think about
Oh, there you
mud
go.
and dirt a lot, actually.
It's fascinating, dude. And when
Yeah,
you read about this stuff too,
yeah,
you read interviews with these guys or blogs or message board posts, and it's spooky because they talk about how like the mud has consciousness basically in so many words. That's what they're saying.
right, right.
They're saying it's a thing that's alive, and everybody can kind of feel when they're going to have a blowout, you know.
Hmm.
But there's so much stuff like that, and I think that following not even that's not the muse though. I don't think, unless my muse is just off the leash and wandering wherever. But yeah, following whatever is interesting to you, but also balancing that with a real like I take craft, which is a dirty word to some people. I take that very seriously too, right? I want to make sure that I'm on a sentence level, paragraph level, chapter level, book level, that I am giving the reader a good experience. So it's fun to take those amorphous shapes and kind of hammer them into a propulsive reading
Right.
experience, because that's also
You're
fun.
not going off 30 pages on technical aspects of mud drilling, right? It's
Yeah,
about
I
finding
would love
the,
to.
yeah, right, right. But I mean, I don't know where I first heard this before, but I think about this a lot, and I take it pretty seriously, and it's helped me kind of open up the terrain that I'm sort of willing to go, which is something along the lines of, as a writer, your job is to make the things interesting to you, interesting to everybody else. Like that's part of and
Hmm.
you can't necessarily explain why you're interested. Like what was the sort of the original reason why you got interested in some thing, whatever it is, mud drilling in this
Hmm.
case. But like, because it's captivating to you, it's kind of your job to figure out how to make that interesting to somebody who maybe they've never thought about it, right? Or it's just never crossed their path in the right way, or they might even think they aren't interested in it until they read how you've
Yeah.
fit it into this story and made it all work. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Another good example of this is in God Spare No Better, the deer-headed cyborg robot guy. Um, he gets like basically shot to death, but they take his head and they put his head on a like a RoboCop body. So for the
nice.
rest of the book, he's kind of like a big mech warrior dude.
Mhm.
But when he joins the police force, they have a meditation every morning. And I bring this up because I had mentioned Aphex Twin earlier. And at this point, I wrote this scene maybe 2 years ago, but I was obsessed with the Aphex Twin song, like number 3, I think is just what it's called.
Yeah.
It's a very emotional, moving piece of music. And I became obsessed with it. And I watched maybe 6 or 7 30-minute to an hour long YouTube videos about musically what's working there and how
Interesting.
it's and I was like, and so when this dear RoboCop guy is going to his morning meditation, they're playing that song, and so that scene plays out as um, a hallucinatory a chance for me to get into the character a bit, but I'm also dropping these little autistic Chuck Palahniuk facts about what the music is doing
Right.
and how the chord changes are working and why they work.
That's rad.
And it's totally just stuff that I absorbed from YouTube
Yeah.
because I was obsessed with that song.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a cool way to construct a book. Again, with respect to having a cohesive story
Right.
at the end of the day,
Right.
right?
Right.
If I wanted to, I mean, I could blog. No shade to bloggers. It's not a dirty word.
Right.
But I mean, I could just blog about things that are interesting to me.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell a story, you have to, you know, read books on craft and read books, which apparently is controversial. Like
Apparently,
that
yeah.
writers should read.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
it's kind
I
of
was
wild.
I was blown away by
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
So I think both is important.
There's an interesting, this is a question I hadn't really thought to ask you, but it's been something that's been kind of rolling around in my head a little bit. Um, you know, I read a lot of different stuff. I probably read, I don't know, 2/3 of what I read is probably novels. Uh, but I kind of got thinking about how, okay, if you read a novel that tends to have a bunch of, from 60 years ago, say, and it tends to have a lot of, say, historical information or political stuff or technical stuff, um, thinking about that book being written in the context when the reader could not easily access additional information about this thing versus now where you could almost just drop a breadcrumb and set, and it's like knowing as the writer that the audience, if they want to, can go spend the next 2 hours going down internet rabbit holes. And I wonder if we should be, as writers, be conscious of that and thinking about that a little bit. I don't know. I don't. It's interesting to me because, somebody might get fascinated with this Aphex Twin and what you've put in there, and then they might end up going and looking at the same YouTube videos you did, right? It's almost a different relationship with the information than someone might have had pre-internet.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I was literally thinking about the next phase of books being kind of hypertext novels, which has been a thing forever. This is not a new invention. But the idea of having the way that David Foster Wallace had those huge footnotes in the back of Infinite Jest, instead just having hyperlinks on certain words.
Yeah.
And if there was a way to curate a rabbit hole tree that people could go down, like they click it and it takes them to a page and it's like boom, 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 boom. Like check this stuff out. I think that would be really cool. And
that's the internet novel I want to see. I don't really want like the internet novel in quotation marks seems to be about like getting brain damage from the internet, which is relevant and interesting in its own way. But like that's what you're talking about. That's the internet novel I want to see. There's something that actually like conveys the experience of being on the internet, of 1:00 in the morning, you're 17 links down some chain of things you're thinking about or looking into.
You know why there's no no real good internet novel?
Why is that?
It's the same reason that, well, I was about to say there's no real good novel about being super drunk, but there are.
Yeah, there are.
But that's where that's where I was being pulled. It's the idea of when you are on the internet, you are fucked up and you're only enjoying it because you've been anesthetized and hypnotized. And when you are out of that space and you're reading a book, no matter how accurately it renders the internet, you're not on your phone reading the internet. So you see it for the embarrassing waste of time that it is, and you don't want to be around it.
Right. Yeah. You don't. So in that case, it's probably like, in the literary sense, it's probably better if it's just spaced out, or it's not taking up the entire space of the book necessarily. It's side quest kind of thing.
A great example of this is Jared Kobeck. I Hate the Internet. Have you read that? I have not read
that. No.
It's fantastic.
Is it?
It's a great book about the internet.
Interesting. Okay.
So there is one. He's a fascinating writer too. He's one of my favorites, and he's somebody. An obsession of mine is book selling as well, and marketing, and figuring out how to get out into the world. And he is somebody who has never spent a dime on advertising, but every time he puts a book out, and he's totally independent, it sells like crazy. He just knows. Like his most recent book was it was 2 books that came out at the same time. One of them was called Motor Spirit, and the other one was, I think, How to Catch the Zodiac. And it's the first one is a document of San Francisco at the time of the Zodiac killings, and then the second book is literally him maybe kind of actually figuring out who the Zodiac killer was.
Yeah.
And of course it sold, because what a fucking great concept for a book. It's not about cyberpunk deer people or whatever. It's an actual good idea. Anyway, little digression. But he's worth checking out for sure.
Well, on this sort of thinking about how to sell books, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Broken River Collective. I mean, I know of you guys from podcasts and all of that. And but
Sure.
I want to know just a little bit more for maybe somebody's not familiar with it. First off, what is the Broken River Collective?
The Broken River Collective is a group of 6 writers. Some of us are very similar. Some of us are a little different, who all support each other. It's more of a group chat than a movement or anything like that. We take care of each other. We go to cons together. We're friends. Our writing is like we'll post a story in the chat and say, "Hey, what's missing?" And then everybody will come in and help them do that. But we also promote each other's work. Rising tide raises all ships type of thing. And Broken River started in 2013. It was a normal small press. And that's something that I quit Twitter recently. It's because I was overwhelmed recently with a feeling of resentment towards Twitter in particular, right?
Yeah.
That I was like, you have taken so much time out of my life. And this is Facebook, right? But when Broken River first launched in 2013, we had 5 books. We had Stephen Graham Jones, Jed Ayers, William Boyle, Pierce Hansen, and Anthony Neil Smith. So like really, really good writers. But in 2013, 12 years ago, you could post something on social media and it would go into people's feeds chronologically.
Right.
And then people would see it. And then they might share it and it would go into their feed chronologically. Yeah. And then other people would see it. So we had a lot of huge success early on. Pretty much right after that, the algorithm shut that door completely and it was very noticeable. So I got mad about that. But the press went on for some time until I really realized that I was not good at running a press. I was not doing justice to the writers who trusted me with their books because I had no money at the time. Right. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't put any kind of promo behind it. Yeah. I didn't have time as a writer myself to really focus on it. So it wasn't fair. So what I did was just give everybody their rights back. I told them you could use the same cover. It could still be a Broken River book if you want, but you can just keep all your royalties, basically.
Cool.
And then I thought, what if we had a banner, like we kept the Broken River banner, but we got like 5-6 people together, and it was essentially 5 self-published people who all kept their own, royalties and were independent. But there's this unifying kind of clique collective type thing where we're also like the Wu-Tang Clan or something.
Right. No, I love it. I mean, I think part of the challenge or the opportunity present right now for writers is there are ways. I kept thinking about this term forging imprimatur, right? Like the point of getting on a big press is that you've gotten past the gatekeepers. So the gatekeepers have kind of waved you in and they're sort of telling everybody else like, hey, this counts, right? But there are ways of sort of hacking it to get some of that that approval on your own, right? Like you can through various routes, and the way you guys have approached it is one of them. So there isn't a Broken River office, but like there's it's a thing, people are aware of it, and so when something comes out of that, there is a certain level of expectation that if I've liked the other books, I'm probably going to like this one too. I mean, it's really interesting, and it's got me thinking about how to engineer things going forward. It's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. What is, kind of on that note, what are some things, I want to ask this sort of twofold. So one's on the sort of the writing and one's on the kind of the marketing side. So what are some things that you learn? Let's just go from your most recent book to Berserker Club. So between God's Fair No Better and Berserker Club, what did you learn writing God's Fair No Better that you may have applied to Berserker Club, or maybe you're going to apply to whatever project you're working on next?
Man, that's a good question. What did I learn? Learning from a marketing perspective,
Well,
or from
let's start from
like
a
a
writing.
craft
I want to
perspective?
ask both of those, but let's start
Sure.
from a writing perspective. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Perfect. What I learned from writing Berserker Club. Berserker Club's a very, or I'm sorry, God's Fair No Better is a very long book. It's my longest book. It's like 600 pages, which I never thought that I could do. What I learned from that book in particular is the ending, how to do a proper ending, because I've never been able to do it before. I've written 7 books. They all end with like a fade out,
Right.
like a character running into the distance or something inexplicable happening.
It's the
I
biggest,
get to call it
it's
Lynchian.
like the biggest craft challenge, I think, in
Yeah,
writing a novel
yeah,
is endings.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So I had this draft and I would send it to people, and the praise for it was great. Everybody liked the book, and every single person had the same thing, where it's like, you shit the bed on the ending.
Oof. Yeah.
You wussed out, like you didn't. There's I think that there's so much pressure to make a good ending that people try to find workarounds, and you can justify it to yourself because we've all seen really good movies or read really good books that have done this, where this is not what McCarthy was doing at all, but like, No Country for Old Men is a classic example of this. Llewellyn gets shot before he ever gets to confront Sugar. And for guys like me who get nervous about endings, I'm like, perfect. I'll just surprise them every time. And something different will happen that they don't expect.
Right.
People don't like that. And they shouldn't like that because they've invested their time and their trust in you as a writer to give them some kind of satisfaction. Now, obviously, No Country for Old Men is a great book. It's an awesome book. And so it can be done with a point to it, right? But I had used that as a crutch for way too long. And so an entire draft overhaul was, I'm just going to focus on the end and take this. It was almost like a sketch of an ending, which if you think about it, it's like, that meme picture of, it's like a beautifully drawn horse and then it turns into a stick figure.
Yeah.
That's what that book was.
Ah, right.
Like the last 30 pages of it was the stick figure horse, with a really great final chapter where the characters are hanging out and like the denouement part of it, right? I had that perfect, but it was the actual action. And so I had to learn by reading Preston and Child and Michael Crichton and authors like this, like how does action actually work? Which I found the secret to it. It's not in describing the action at all. Like, action scenes are all about building up expectation and tension. That's all they are. Right? Yeah, you want to describe how badass one guy is and how badass the other guy is and all the different ways that they could fuck each other up. And then you find out that one character actually has a bad knee that he didn't tell anybody about, but he's going to go into the fight anyway. And then the fight itself, it's literally maybe 4 or 5 sentences as thesis statements for a paragraph about like what's going on in their minds. So anyway, I read those books and I figured out very quickly how that kind of thing worked. And then I was able to take that into Berserker Club, which is ostensibly an action book, but it's pretty much all that, right? I mean, how much can you really write about monsters punching each other?
Right.
Not a lot.
Right. Well, because and I think the mistake is to try and turn it into like an action film in which like blow by blow is interesting because it's visual and it can be, obviously there are fight scenes that are not interesting and ones that are more interesting, but like there are aspects of the appeal of that you really can't quite accomplish on the page. So yeah, I haven't thought about this, but like, I really like what you're saying. All the emotional energy of it is actually something slightly different than the punches. Yeah.
It's all. I mean,
I like that.
And I don't know if this is true because I'm not super well versed in the romance genre, but I'm assuming most of it is the tease leading up to.
I think
the
that's
sex.
right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I got great advice on this from an author named John Skip, who used to be part of a writing team called Skip Inspector. They did a lot of these great paperbacks for Del Rey back in the day. And he did a course on the now defunct Lit Reactor. I don't know if you ever went
Yeah.
to that website.
Yep.
About action.
Okay.
But I was broke at the time, and he's my buddy. So I was like, hey man, can you give me like the Cliffs Notes of this? And he did, and it was great. He said when you're writing, people try to write the movie in their head, which is generally bad advice, I think. Although it has led to New York Times bestsellers, so what do I know?
Yeah.
But he's like, when you're writing an action scene, think of it as a comic book, and you're describing each panel, right? So pull back on the motion and move into like the emotion or the description of the panel itself. It'll read a lot better. So I kind of took that advice, and it took me maybe 10 years to actually implement that, as is my want.
It's not easy. It's not, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah. And then apply that to this idea of, not Skip Inspector. Preston and Child are amazing at doing this. Yeah. Amazing. Every chapter has almost a thesis statement. It was them and Joe Abercrombie, who's a fantasy writer, who I noticed was really good at this too. Has a thesis statement, and then the whole chapter is about building tension, right? Like in their novel Reliquary, they find out that there is genetically engineered monsters living in a sewer, and right up your alley.
It is, yeah.
Right. I think I actually told you about this book, didn't I? Did I message you about this book?
Actually, that does sound familiar. Yes, I think you did.
Like, you might write. Like I was reading it, and I was like, I think Brad would fuck with this because it's all in a sewer.
Yeah.
But so they're going. It's all about the descent into the sewer, and it getting more claustrophobic, and in some cases, I guess, darker, smellier, creepier. And then when they finally get to the monsters, it's a couple paragraphs of this guy shot at the monsters, it ripped his throat out, they ran down a hall, and then it's back to now they're being stalked, right? So it's all about the creatures trying to find them. But yeah, don't focus on long answer to your question. Sorry.
No, it was great.
That's what God Spare No Better. I had to figure out how to write action. And by the way, I'm still. People might think that this means that I don't have fun reading, but I'm literally always reading for research. Like if I want to find out how to do something in a book, if I did want to have a romance subplot, which I haven't had, I've had one in a book, but it was like a married couple that kind of didn't like each other. It was like a reflection of my life at the time, right? Yeah. But if I did want to have a steamy romance, I would go read a steamy romance.
Those are the people who know how to do it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's fun. It's fun to go on these little mining expeditions it's never I don't know how to. It's never as intentional as I'm gonna go research this so that I can know how a gun works or know how mud drilling works. It's this really fun following of obsessions.
Yeah.
And I've become obsessed with how to write, the perfect novel.
Yeah, I love it.
Which is, I mean, it's lofty, and of course it doesn't happen because it's you can't do that. But what a fun, like, North Star.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, and I similarly, a lot of reading is for me is, okay, well, how's he doing this? Okay, like what's the actual mechanics of this? Because this doesn't seem like it should work. Like, or if I tried to do this, I don't think it would work. And why wouldn't it? Just trying to dissect these things a little bit. And
dude, we should workshop it. Do you have an example
of like a book?
Of something that you read that you thought, I don't know if I could do this.
Well, that's a good question. Nothing comes to mind immediately.
Sure. Put you on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I've spent a lot of time on and sort of, here is sort of an example. The punchiness of James Ellroy is like super admirable to me, and yet I don't know. I almost don't have the confidence to try and write like that. In a way.
Right.
I don't know if in the end I want to. It's just I see that and I'm like, how the hell does this work so well? Because Like it for me, my tastes, it kind of shouldn't in a way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it totally does. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
it's fascinating to me how yeah, what would be the way to phrase that? Like, because there's a way in which like, and the only real James Ellroy I've read is American Tabloid, but there's like a way in which there's almost so little on the page. It's just sort of like
Mm-hmm.
in terms of scene setting, physical details, et cetera, et cetera. There's not actually that much. It's just one thing after another constantly. And
Yes.
maybe,
Yes.
maybe
It's
that's the rhythm of it that you kind of need to do that. Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah.
That's I was gonna say that American Tabloid is working on two levels. It's working well, three. So it's rhythm,
Mhm.
it's word choice,
Sure.
and I think the fact that he writes it all on yellow legal pads has something to do with that.
Yeah.
And I also think that he's a maniac
Yeah.
who just those are the kind of words that are going through his. He once went on a tirade about Bill Clinton at a book signing where he was talking about the reason why he wanted to live was to so that Bill Clinton could die and he
Right.
could write a book about him.
I saw that. Yeah.
So he's a maniac.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
It's a rhythm. It's the that demon dog word choice, but then it's also duration.
Yeah.
And I became really obsessed with the durational quality of books, which very few other forms of media have outside of maybe Netflix TV shows or video games. Video games kind of
video
get
games
it,
do,
right?
yeah.
You play a video game for 40 hours. There's a durational effect, and I realized this playing video games, playing something like Cyberpunk 2077, which is literally the reason why I wrote God's Fear No Better, because I lived in this world for 120 hours, platinuming this game. But then I started to notice it in books, and I thought, you know why people get so connected in these 500-page fantasy novels, some of which I don't think are very good. I think it's just duration. If you can set up scenes where you are hanging out with characters for a long enough time, it actually doesn't matter how good or bad. Like I'm watching the X-Files right now, which is great.
Oh yeah.
But I got to the 13th episode, Beyond the Sea, and it's been obviously Monster of the Week and then kind of plot, right? That's how X-Files does it. But Beyond the Sea is this great emotional episode where Scully is dealing with the death of her father and is questioning a supposedly psychic serial killer who's in prison, Hannibal Lecter style, who's supposedly also channeling her father
I kind
and
of
has like a
this
secret
episode,
message.
actually. Yeah.
It was a great episode. But like the fact that it is episode 13 in a show that up until now, the 12 episodes that preceded it were either very good or great, in my opinion, but not this like emotional, earth-shattering thing. We've been able to just exist with Mulder and Scully for this long. So when Scully loses her dad and is going through this is a woman who we've hung out with for 10 hours. Yeah. So we kind of care.
Right.
It's not always
if that was the
simple,
first episode,
right?
you'd be like, this is, what is this crap?
Yeah. You're like, what is precisely,
Yeah.
right? Like you couldn't, that's kind of the magic of TV is its ability to have that durational effect. Sitcoms are not, why would you get emotional at the last episode of Home Improvement?
Right.
You know, or Family Matters.
Right.
It's because you've hung out with them that long.
Yeah.
And, you know, the sitcom is, I think, in terms of the working, you know, like put your head down and write type media, I think sitcoms are at the peak. I have nothing but respect for sitcom writers. Yeah. And even bad ones. Yeah. Because my God, you have to sit down, especially back in the day, you had to pump out 20, 40 episodes.
Yeah,
you just had to figure it out.
The volume they did in those days. I was trying to my wife sort of missed Seinfeld somehow growing up. She knew it was existed, but she never watched it. And so I was trying to get her into it recently. And I was like, just do me a favor. It's funny and the character, you get to know the characters and all of that. But like, just pay attention to how cleverly each one of these episodes is put together. It's so freaking, like, they're brilliant. They're these brilliant little gems of writing. Just the way it all kind of, it does get kind of tied up. not quite neatly, because you can't have it tie up too neatly in a sitcom because you need to have another episode. And if it tied up too neatly, it'd be over. So it has to end on this like perfect note that allows it to expand into the next episode and treat the next episode like this episode didn't happen, but you actually cared in this. It's a very interesting riddle to solve as a writer, for sure.
That is so interesting. I'm really glad you said that. That's another puzzle piece that I'm going to file away in the back of the brain. The idea that after the episode ends, the next episode pretends that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That's something that I think is really difficult with serialized storytelling because I'm obsessed with the X-Files right now. Right. The next thing I want to do is kind of like the X-Files.
Yeah, of course.
And
one of the first things I ever wrote was like was basically X-Files as a short story. Like, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, perfect. Mine was Jurassic Park.
Yeah, there you
except
go.
it was a zoo.
Oh, nice.
It was a zoo, and the animals broke out and ate people.
Yeah.
I was like 6.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But
same.
Yeah. When did that movie come? Was it 92?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
I would have been 6. I was 6 years old.
On.
Yeah. But no, so the idea that the episode before it didn't happen is so fascinating because the X-Files does this. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the golden age of TV, and I know we're talking about books, but we're also informed by TV at this point that I feel like it's totally valid, is that in a show like The Wire or The Sopranos, what happened in the episode before it really matters to what happens next. Breaking Bad is another great example. There are very few bottle episodes in these shows. They exist, but these are shows that are only bottle episodes. Mm-hmm. And so you'll have an episode where they'll be dealing with some in the X-Files where somebody can is pyrokinetic and he can light himself on fire, and they watch this man erupt in flames and then die, but not really. And then the next episode, Mulder gets abducted, but then his memory gets erased. Yada yada, on and on and on. It always has to reach this incredible climax that if you were trying to do that golden age show thing, you would think, well, the next episode has to address what just happened.
Right. No, it doesn't.
No, maybe you don't.
Right.
Maybe you don't. Right. Maybe we're just moving forward.
Yeah.
And maybe archetypally that gets the viewer or the reader into this mode of, I'm dealing with mythical characters. Right.
It is. It's like every episode is always happening. It's not really like it's not.
It's a Kairos. It's not a Chronos. It's a Kairos thing. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like every Monday is the same Monday. It's like every X-Files is the same X-Files.
Yeah.
Dude, I like that. That's fucking cool.
Now you're making me want to go back and watch it, X-Files, because it's tough though because there's so many episodes. It's like
218.
Yeah, I know.
And a movie.
Crazy, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like part of me would just want to watch what you're calling the sort of plot episodes, but then part of me is like that's not actually what you want, really. I mean,
no, I think it would fuck it up. I think it would get really boring,
probably,
honestly, because if the plot is the same.
Yeah, because if it was that over these many seasons, you're like, couldn't this just be like, I don't know, 4 hours instead of 100 or whatever it is? Like, I'm sure there's a way to like get this at a tidier package, but you're having this whole experience. Yeah.
Another person who broke something open, and this is just the kind of my final thought on it, is Jack Mason of the Perfume Nationalist and his obsession with soap operas.
Right.
I listened to a lot of his soap opera episodes, and he recently watched The Walking Dead, which is one of my favorite shows of all time, and commented on how soapy it is. Yeah, but his appreciation for these, 800 episode, like The Young and the Restless or whatever, where it's like hyper that.
Right.
And that's all that's going on.
Yeah.
You're just with these characters, and there's not even the Seinfeldian desire to have it be clever or connect. And it's just a story.
And there's no end. I mean, I suppose the writers, they have the end of an episode in mind, but for the overall project, there's no sense of an end in mind, right? Like the whole idea of it is that it's supposed to last decades or whatever, right? It's not like, that's really interesting. I do think though, there is a thing, and I'm not going to say I love soap operas. I can't even say I've ever really seen one since I was a kid, but the idea of it's interesting. But I do think there is a thing that TV shows tend to do now that we're in this sort of serialized thing where every show, if it goes on long enough, will become a soap opera. And every show's timeline to get there is a little bit different. But like this, like The Sopranos ends. If it would have went any further, I suspect it would have become a soap opera of some kind over time, right? Or structure.
Yeah, Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, I mean, what you're pointing out is that there is, I guess, the soap opera is, it's a bunch of micro conflicts, but it never has that entirely reversing kind of conflict that turns everything on its head that you would need for an end. Right? Because the way that Breaking Bad would work as a soap opera is he beats Gus Fring, and then there are 7 seasons of him being a drug lord. Right? And all the sundry problems that would come from being a drug lord, and that would be the soap opera.
Right. Yeah, because then at that point it's all about you're with the this is interesting. Like in the soap opera and in this sort of soap opera mode, the real sort of it's all about the context, like I'm thinking of like General Hospital takes place in a hospital. And by the end, I'm sure by the first seasons and the last seasons, like the entire cast is all different people, I am assuming.
Yes.
Right. And so there's something about it's actually about this context and then like whatever happens in it. Whereas Breaking Bad is about this man who goes through a thing that comes to an end. Right. So it sort of has to, and if you try to put that end even further and further out, at some point it kind of outruns the capacity of the story to bear that duration. Yeah,
that's so interesting. Yeah, so soap operas are like, they're all kind of haunted house stories.
Right, yeah.
Where the house is the main character.
Right.
And it's watching people. In a weird way, then, soap operas are sort of more literary, I guess, than because in pulp and genre, something always has to happen.
Right.
Yeah. And you can have these, but that's so interesting. It's like, is Philip Marlowe's soap opera, is it about his office, right? Or what, you know what I mean? Like, or these, I really like the Dresden Files, which is like it's by Jim Butcher. Funny side note, I really enjoyed these books that are about like an occult magician detective who fights vampires and trolls and stuff like that.
It's a great subgenre.
It's awesome, and it goes for 17 books, and it gets so epic. Like anyway, but side note, he went to the same college. We both went to OU, and when I was going to OU, I was like a pretentious guy who was reading Bolaño and David Foster Wallace, and didn't think that I needed the writing program. Yeah. But Deborah Chester, whose book Fantasy Fiction Writing totally changed as an adult the way that I look at writing, was the creative writing teacher at OU that I could have taken. Anyway, side note. But in a book like that, 17 books, does it become a soap opera? And then is it a bit like, are the books themselves the haunted house? I don't know. Lots to think about with that.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about for sure. I've just noticed this with TV shows, that some of these like serialized ones, which I don't really watch as much anymore. Like I definitely had phases of it. There's so much of it now, like that, but there is, I've noticed it with trying to think of a good example of the show that kind of outran its own natural ending, and then it just becomes like, what do we do? I feel like you're just making shit up to have screen time at this point.
I mean, I love it, but you could say that about The Walking Dead.
I think The Walking Dead is like, that's probably the best, because the first,
but I love it. I love that, but I recognize that it's
fair.
That
I mean, the first season of Walking Dead to me is like the best, is as good as any zombie movie in my opinion. That first season. Of course. And then there's some point, season 5, season 6, I don't know where it is exactly, where it's just like, I got the point.
And we're gonna keep doing it, and then it becomes about like, do you like that thing? Right. Grey's Anatomy.
Okay, that went on forever.
17 seasons.
Wow.
Like crazy amount of seasons, and I think it's very simple. I think there are some actors who are still doing that, which, by the way, is a very interesting brain type. But I know the checks were good, but wow. Being able to do something like that for 17 years is almost like a monk-like focus on being a soap opera actor.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not interested in hospitals or gunshot wounds or. I mean, I liked House. House kind of did that though. right?
But House had like a bit
House,
of I didn't watch a lot of it, but it had sort of a monster of the week kind of thing, right? It's like
it
this
did.
week,
It's a total Monster of the
right?
Week show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It was a Monster of the Week show. But then when you got into the later seasons, it was House goes to jail,
right,
right?
right.
And it's like, where do we put him now?
Yeah,
Like we got to keep this ball
yeah.
rolling.
You start right. I had always thought this is a free short story or novel idea for somebody because I'm probably not going to write it. But I've always thought like it would be an interesting. It could be even like kind of satirical or a bit of a parody. An interesting story idea is like, you take like a classic sitcom dad character, like Homer Simpson, for instance, all the things that he goes through in his life. He's president and an astronaut and all these things. And you take that guy and you basically treat it as though all that really happened, right? So it's like a guy who's like 60, he's thinking back on a sort of sitcom life, and he's been everything. He's had 75 jobs, and he's
Yeah.
like all these things. He's met tons of celebrities. I don't know. I just think that's really
Yeah.
really interesting.
It'd be fun. It'd be kind of like almost like a Forrest Gump type
Right,
thing,
right, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Where he's just sitting on a bench, old as shit,
Yeah.
and somebody's like, "Tell me your life story."
right.
And then the punchline, obviously, is that you get all the way to the end of the story or novel,
Yeah.
and it's been days or weeks in the telling,
Yeah.
but they're still
Right.
sitting there,
Right, yeah.
talking about it.
218 episodes of yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
of the X-Files.
circling back to a question I asked you a little while ago, things you learned between God's Fair No Better and now on the marketing side. What are some lessons you took from that?
Yeah, well, there are many. If you are an independent author right now, you can't sell your book if nobody knows about it. And unfortunately, there's no, in my estimation at least, there's no real way to get a kind of a viral sensation going with a book. It has happened. Some books get this way. They're usually based around sort of internet cults of personality, like Mike Ma, for example, I think did that pretty successfully.
It's hard to strategize for, though, right? To set out to do
That's hard
that
to strategize.
is almost impossible.
Yeah, but I think some people do.
Really?
To be honest
Yeah.
with you, I think some people do. I think that they treat the internet like a job, and God bless them, can't be me. Marketing is difficult. You have to forget everything that you care about in the book and figure out what other people will care about in the book. That's difficult, first off. To find the actual core, I think you can find some help with early beta readers, early Amazon reviews, things that people gravitate towards. I found that with God's Fair No Better. 3 or 4 people all mentioned that they really liked the shark that eats the guy's dick. Okay, maybe that's a marketing point, right? In terms of practical marketing, this is a tough pill to swallow. I think you and I are really similar, man. I think that we're more the artist type dude, right? Like we don't want to be the salesman.
Yeah.
But we're also smart enough to know that is what has worked.
Yeah.
And there are people out there who are able to sustain a career, which is something that I don't want to do. I actually don't want writing to be a career, but I would like the books to sell and for people to find them. By really understanding this. So Facebook ads work really well. They work well. Like I can't even lie. They do work well if you have good copy.
Yeah.
And you have a budget of about $20 a day. You can sell 3 or 4.
Interesting.
There is a deep, uncomfortable valley where you're putting more money into it than you're getting back. Because if you're putting in $20 and you're selling 3 or 4 copies, you're not making $20 back.
No.
So, and everybody who's smart about this and everybody who's succeeded at this has said, just keep going. Just keep doing it, because eventually the dam will break and you will succeed. I regret to inform you that I couldn't keep going. I could I had a budget, but it was really bothering me. And with Berserker Club, I'm going to try to be stronger about this. Yeah. Just be like, I'm putting my $20 in every day, and I'm not going to look at the sales, and we'll just keep going.
Right.
Which I want to come back to that because there's a story from the past. But Amazon ads are fucking hard. super hard, because Amazon had like the difference between Facebook and Amazon is like this. Facebook will take your money and show your book to whoever, and it's happy to do so. It doesn't really care because it's not a platform for selling things to people. You're the customer. I'm the customer of Amazon.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, of Facebook,
yeah.
right? And so if Facebook is getting my $20 a day, it's less concerned with who sees my ad. Amazon is a selling platform, and it does not want to waste its customers' time. So you can set your budget for $20 a day on Amazon, and it will spend 5 cents of it because it can't find the readers that want to read your book.
Right.
And a lot of people die in this trench when it comes to Amazon marketing, where it's like nobody's seeing it and they're not showing it to anybody.
Right.
So
It's
you
like,
have to get really
wanted to give
deep
you.
into
I tried to give you money. I could see that being very frustrating. It's like I gave you money to do it. Like what? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we don't care because you're not, your little piddly $20 is not worth frustrating a customer and having them turn the website off and go to bed.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to find Snow White and they found Itchy the Killer instead, and now they're grossed out and they don't even want to be on Amazon anymore.
Right.
So they take their algorithms and their search function really seriously. So that's very difficult. But I do think that if this is going to be like our kind of noble pursuit, or our super awesome hobby, but we want people to read it, we have to realize that people spend a lot of money on their hobbies, right? I mean, if your hobby is hunting, you buy hunting gear and you yada, yada, yada. You get my point. Yeah. And so when I was literally just out of high, I was 18 years old. So this would have been like 2005 or 6 or whatever. And I was on MySpace, and an author named Tom McCarthy direct messaged me and asked if he could send me a copy of his book Remainder. And I said, yeah, sure. And he literally in a manila envelope sent me that book, and I read it and I liked it, and I talked about it to friends and yada, yada, yada. And of course now Tom McCarthy is like he's not a famous author, but he's a working author. And that was his, but I read later in an interview that he sent out 5,000 copies like that.
Wow.
5,000.
That's incredible.
I
didn't do it nearly at that scale, but I did do that. Probably more like 50 to 100 if I'm honest, but I would just DM people who I thought were interesting, or
sure.
I vibed with them in some way, or I thought I was like, could I maybe get this person to at a minimum take a picture of it and tweet it, the cover of it. Yeah. Like, can I get them to do that? And then, hell, maybe they'll even crack the spine and read a few pages of it. And maybe I'll even get lucky enough that they'll like it,
Yeah.
And then, so I did that a bunch. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. That impulse is 100% correct. I think we should all be doing that. David Simmons has been doing that with his new book, Eradicator. He's been hitting up like bookfluencers. Mm-hmm. My favorite new portmanteau, bookfluencer.
Right.
But it's been working.
Is it?
Because they I mean, especially if you target the bookfluencers who maybe have like, instead of 150,000 followers, the ones that have like 5 or 10, 'cause that's not nothing.
Right.
It's not nothing. But the ones who are, this is in scare quotes, less visible than the bigger ones, and you say, hey, here's a book, you might have a better chance of them show, because like you just every day,
because they're going to have a slush pile just like a publisher does in a way.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And so if you go to the people who maybe don't, or who are kind of excited, you play on their ego a little bit. I love your channel.
Right.
Hey, check this out. And they're like, oh, me? I thought I was making videos out into the void of 5,000 people.
Right.
Point is like, I do think that what we do is actually, I take it very seriously, and I try to have as much fun with it as possible. And so it's kind of like prayer for me, where I'm very devoutly interested in prayer and God, but I don't, like, that's as much as I'll talk about that,
sure.
Because like that's the private, and then the public is fun and let's drink and have a good time. That's how I take writing too. When I'm doing that that act. It's sacred and it's very important to me, and I think it's important for the world. I genuinely do think that we have a unique 2025 purpose in writing, especially the way that people like you do, right? I think it's important. But similarly, I think that it's an obligation that we have for people to find it. And so throw out for a second the idea of, being a Stephen King or a Brandon Sanderson, or somebody who has lines of people waiting to prostrate themselves in front of you, and just think of it as it's actually your duty in the age of scroll, the endless scroll, to stop people from scrolling. Yeah. Think about that, right? Yeah. Like, we have to, in any way, shape, or form that we can, we have to stop people from scrolling.
Right.
And if we have to spend a little money doing that, I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Oh man, this is great, because this is sort of rolls into I will admit, I had a bunch of reasons that I wanted to have you on to talk to you, and ever since I started doing this show solo back in May, I've been figuring out guests, and you were on that list for sure. And I wanted to talk to you because I enjoyed the podcast we recorded together and enjoyed listening to you on podcasts. But part of the reason I wanted to have you on is to have this conversation, because and I want to phrase this in a way, I don't want this to sound like whiny. I never like going into any kind of like woe is me territory, but I have found myself in the last few months struggling with something that you talk about in a Substack post of yours, which is, should you keep writing? Why you should keep writing if you're never going to make it. And I've had this sort of, I've been at this since I was a little kid, but like kind of seriously, like making sacrifices in my life and like setting things up so I could maximize my time writing and taking it pretty seriously for 20 years. And I kind of coming to a point where it's like, man, this really didn't like end up in the sort of selfish, self-aggrandizing sense, like, man, this kind of didn't really end up where I wanted it to, or where I'd hoped it would. And I was never shooting to be Stephen King, right? I was shooting to be like a guy who could, maybe work at have a teaching job at a university and have a book come out every 3-4 years, and it did reasonably well, like that kind of life. And coming to this point now, 20 years in, where it's like, man, I don't have that. And shit, did I just like waste, like, you know what I mean? These voices start bubbling up. It's like, did I just, am I like in my, coming up on my mid 40s and like, I should have done something entirely different? Like, I'll just being honest, like these voices kind of start cropping up. Yeah. And, I don't know if there's really like a question in there. This is sort of like, this conversation sort of giving me a little bit more energy, because I've got a finished novel that I've just had for a year. Nothing happened with it. And now I'm like, now what am I going to do? And I got another project, probably halfway done-ish, a third of the way done-ish. It'll be done probably next year, in the first half of next year, if things keep going at this pace. I still love the writing. I mean, I woke up this morning and I wrote for 2 hours. I still love that aspect of it. But in terms of the like trying to make the thing happen, I'm feeling myself kind of fading in enthusiasm on that side.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I love, because I the more we talk, the more I realize we do think about these things a lot. The writing is sort of this one thing, and that's sort of like, this is gonna sound cheesy, but like, it's kind of, if you're in it for that long, it's your calling. You don't really get to decide whether it is or not. Like, yes, unfortunately, like it would be cool to like.
I say that all the time. I'm like, wouldn't it have been cool if my calling was making a bunch of money?
Right.
That would be sick.
Well, dude, I mean, I'll tell you like one thing, like this is a little bit personal, but like whatever, I had, so I told you near the beginning of the show, day jobs, civil engineer, right? Geotechnical engineer. And I had a bunch of guys I went to school with who graduated the same year, same discipline, etc. And I went off into the world and I did some things. I did some engineering work, but I quit and went to grad school, and I tried to make some other things happen, and I was always trying to like make a book, something happen in the book world. And then I moved back to where I'm from, where I went to school, and I run into all those guys, and they're like VPs. They're like running, you know what I mean? They're like running companies or running major departments of literally the government.
Yeah.
And I'm not, obviously. And there was like this thing where like, God damn.
Yeah.
And yeah, so so I guess sort of the struggle becomes, it's like, okay, so to keep going, I think what you're really putting your finger on that's super helpful for me to get my head around, maybe what I might be trying to do next, is like there is this sort of calling. It's kind of there for a reason, and then the thing you're doing is actually got a deep purpose, even if it doesn't sell 20,000 copies or whatever. Yeah.
Right. My question to you would be, if you ran into those guys and you had become a priest instead of a writer, do you think a priest would feel that way?
No.
I would hope not.
Right.
Because the priest would say, if he's a good priest, I'm very happy for them.
Right.
That they've been able to create this life for themselves.
And I am happy for them, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that.
I just wanted to make sure I said that.
But the priest would say, but I've devoted my life to God and to helping people. Teachers are this way too, bro. I mean, I used to be a high school teacher, and it's tough. I didn't make it. I washed out, dude. I was like 1 year and done.
I taught
it's some people's calling.
I taught for 2 months and quit. I was like, I can't do this. Yeah. This is not.
Can't do it. I tried to show them Jurassic Park. That's the second Jurassic Park mention. But I tried to get them to read Jurassic Park, and they were like, "This book fucking sucks." What? And I was like, "This is not for me."
How old were they?
Juniors, man.
Oh, dude, come on. I could see like a college kid being like too pretentious for it, but like a junior in high school, come on.
No, these were juniors. And so I do think we're vibing on the same level here, man, which is that it is so we exist in 2025. We exist in the culture of the micro business and the hustle culture, and that unfortunately is the trash stratum that we have to play in order to make things work. I wish it was different, but it's not. I was lamenting earlier how you used to be able to just post things on the internet and then people would see them. Not the case anymore. It is what it is. These are the times. Maybe you always live in interesting times, whatever. But I do think, and recently finishing Paul Kingsnorth's new book, Against the Machine.
I bought that
he lays
on
out
your recommendation extra. I haven't read it yet, obviously.
You are going to love that book, dude. I promise you. It's an incredible polemic against progress, basically. Progress and revolution and the constant putting nature in a box so that humans can become like gods and this and that. And that was like a big puzzle piece to something that I've been thinking about lately, which is, why is it interesting to me and fun to me? Number one, to try to channel all these thoughts, this ecology of story that's sort of flowing, I think, through the ether, and that some of us just have the antennas for it, right? Why is it important to both do that, and then also I have this impulse to try to make it as fun and entertaining and interesting as possible? And it's like, is it a thing that I'm trying to say? I don't think so, because I'm not a philosopher, and I'm not a particularly gifted person when it comes to, like Kingsnorth has done, right? I don't think at this stage in my life I have that necessarily in me. But no, it's the novel itself that needs to exist. And reading that book, I was like, oh shit, I want to channel this muse, and I want to make it entertaining, and I want to get people to read, and I want that to be monetarily sustainable enough for me to keep doing it, because everybody's on their phones all the time. Like I'm a monk. I'm gonna get as fucking pretentious as I want to right now. I've had 2 beers, dude.
Nice.
I'm in there.
Good.
I'm like a warrior monk against the machine, you know?
Okay.
That's how I see myself,
Yeah.
right? And whatever I have to put into this hobby, this calling, this craft, in order to keep doing that, if you can keep somebody away from the screen for 8 hours, you are doing the Lord's work.
Hell yeah. Okay. All right, dude. This is actually reinvigorating me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, dude.
And I didn't come on to like, I wasn't like, I'm gonna have therapy in public here, but this is like something.
Let's go.
It's
It's a big question. It's
yeah.
a big question, dude. Because I grew up loving books, and when I was a teenager, I found this online community called The Velvet. It was a message board dedicated to 3 authors. It was Will Christopher Bear, Craig Clevenger, and Stephen Graham Jones. And I also was heavy on like Chuck Palahniuk's website, and these guys all were like heroes to me, right? And still are, right? I still love their work.
Right.
But the young man's understanding of that is that I've given all of this love. Wouldn't it feel great to feel that love come back to me?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it feel great to be loved the way that I've loved these people? Right. When you're 40, you're like, I don't need or want that anymore, right? And there are times where it's you're talking about kind of the nostalgia of this time where you were more idealistic and those things not necessarily panning out, but you can get to a really important part. And I think some of the most successful people that we see who have like made it actually understand what we're talking about, if not in so many words, intuitively they get that. But man, once you just focus on 2 things, which is channeling the muse, following your interests, right? I'm combining that into one, and then making it as sturdy as possible, as propulsive and compelling and interesting as possible. You're all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't need their love. I would like some of their money,
Sure,
because I have children.
Yeah.
But I don't need that. My purpose is something different.
Yeah.
And that's why I also think it's great that there are so many books out there now. People lament that. AI is a different story.
Oh yeah,
totally different story.
Yeah, no, we can't turn it.
AI generated books.
No, that loses
Fuck
everything.
that shit.
That's bait. You're scrolling.
Yeah,
sort of, right?
That's why it's right. No, this fits perfectly into my riff right now. Right? It's like the reason why AI books suck is because how is that different from a scroll?
Right. Yeah.
It's still the machine.
Right.
It's still not a person. There's no soul there.
Yeah. And it's almost worse than scrolling, because at least I'm finding this a bit on Substack, and when the Twitter algorithm worked a little bit more favorably, you could start to form some relationships with people to a certain extent, right? And so you could have actual human connections with people. I mean, everybody that I've ever had on this show or my other show, they're all people I met on the internet, basically, right? So, but the AI book takes every last bit of that out completely. Any last human bit that may exist in the scroll is gone now, and now it's just pure algorithmic shit. Yeah. So
it is algorithmic shit.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny is if I had been on this podcast even 6 months ago, I wouldn't have been such a Luddite against AI, because I had started like typing into ChatGPT and I was like, oh cool, I can bounce ideas off of it and stuff. And there's a novelty to it. Right. You're like, oh, cool. But you do that for like 3 days. Yeah. And then you're like, this thing is retarded. Right. It actually doesn't do anything.
Right.
You know? Right. So I think that at first and of course, you know, like if I was looking for, you know, plane tickets the other day, and I tried to use ChatGPT, like, hey, find me the best deal, because you see people who say that they do this. And I'm like, I'll give it a shot. No, it had no idea what to do. It was like, I don't know, try booking.com. I was like, oh, you mean the thing that I would have just Googled anyway?
Yeah. No, everything that so far for me, and I'm not I haven't tried that much, and but so far everything to me that people have told me that I can use it for, it doesn't work. So,
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it doesn't really work.
so
Yeah, no, exactly.
it kind of works as a search engine, I guess. Like sometimes I get the Gemini search results, and those are
Mm-hmm.
sometimes depending on what I'm looking for. Those can be good
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. But yeah, it's
And they are from a book marketing perspective. I do think just because this is the time that we live
yeah,
in, and this is the direction that it's going, every author should have a page on their website that is there to get AI to recommend your books.
interesting. Yeah,
And so what I mean is make a page like your books page, because AI can't scroll Twitter unless it's Grok,
right,
but it can scan the internet for
right.
things.
Oh,
So if
interesting.
you are putting data on your website that it is literally just like this book is like these other books.
Right.
When it gets that question, hey, what's the book that's like the Dresden Files?
Gets it. Yeah.
It's going to find your
Okay.
website
Yeah.
and say like, oh, hey, I see 3 mentions of the Dresden Files on it. So
Right.
from a book marketing perspective, I mean, we have to. It's part of our position is we have to.
You can't pretend this stuff doesn't exist, you know. Right.
I'd like to.
I'd like to too, you know, but but you can't.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if it was 2010 again?
Yeah,
Oh
right.
man, that'd be sick.
I had a good time in 2010.
Had a MySpace. Shit was tight.
Yeah. Well, this is another thing that gets frustrating, and this is something you mentioned early on that you quit Twitter, and I wanted to bring that up. This is one thing that's kind of frustrating about like, and I wonder if you have any thoughts on strategy for this. So like, going back these years, like yeah, MySpace. I never was big on MySpace, but I had I guess it would have been a blog spot that, you know, quite a few people read my blog spot. And then a little later, didn't seem like anybody was going on that website anymore. So I had a Tumblr and I had quite a few readers on it or whatever, on subscribers or whatever on Tumblr. And then that kind of got weird. And so then it was like, I guess I skipped a while, but then Twitter, and then I kind of built up a following on Twitter a little bit, you know, a few thousand people or whatever. And then now Twitter, like, you can't get new followers anymore, barely. Like, it's almost impossible. It's saturated. I think everybody who's on it already. So it's like, and a lot of people aren't using it anymore. So you got a lot of people who are followers, but they haven't been on Twitter in a year. And then now we're sort of migrating to Substack, and there's a lot of things I like about Substack. But the thing that is I'm starting to think about long term is like, man, you put all these energies into these individual platforms, and then they fade out of relevance, and then you got to like do the whole thing again on another one.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you short circuit?
You know how you do it?
How's that?
There's 2 ways.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and I'm just starting on this, so I am not the authority on this whatsoever. There is an author named Johnny B. Truant who's worth checking out.
Okay.
He's got a book coming out next month called The Artisan Author. He's somebody who hit it big in the era of rapid release, which as a self-publisher means that you're putting a book out every month.
Wow.
Right? So you're just writing, put it out, write it, put it out.
Yeah.
And you're gaming the algorithm and you're getting, and he got really burnt out on that.
Of course. That would take me
And has-
1 month to be burnt out on.
Yeah, exactly, dude. So he got really burnt out on that, and he is now saying, you know, he likes to go to farmers markets with his books and connect with people in real life. Okay, so I think that's one part of it. I've already booked my ticket for the next AWP. We always do really great at AWP because we're the only table that talks to people. You go through AWP and it's everybody's on their phones, antisocial, doesn't want to talk.
Yeah.
And then the Broken River table is shouting at people like, "Do you like weird books? Come check it out."
Yeah.
So human connection is the first thing. And then the second thing is a newsletter, like an email list, right? Building an email list is something that you control.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what platform shuts down. And that's what's interesting about Substack. I export my subscribers every month for that exact reason.
Interesting. Okay.
If it's if it starts to get
Because
it'll export
you have
them
all their
for
email
you.
addresses. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And you can start a MailChimp, or you could, if everything fell apart except for email, you could still email them and let them know.
Okay.
And that's kind of what Substack as a platform has been really good at, kind of piggybacking on, kind of a social media blog, but the core of it is it goes to people's email inboxes.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
And that's when I was mentioning how Facebook, it used to be chronological and people would see it and then share it, it'd be chronological. Email inboxes are like that. It's chronological. So I think Substack is halfway there, but I think that there are so many insanely successful indie authors that I know you've never heard of. Like have you heard of Kevin Tumlinson?
No.
Very, very successful indie author, and he's got an email. So he talks about his email subscriber list, and it's at like 70 or 80,000 people or whatever. You have a list like that, and you have a book coming out. You send an email to people saying, "Hey, the book is out," and people say, "Oh, shit, I like that guy. Yeah, I'll check that out."
Right.
There is one of the reasons why I got rid of my Twitter. One of them was the resentment about the life that it's taken from me.
Right.
Being really dramatic tonight.
No, I get it.
I'm kind of vibing with it. Like the amount of time you've stolen from me.
Well, this is part of the, like, we got to fight back against the machine, right? I mean, the first machines.
Yeah. You have stolen time from me, and time is precious. We're only here once, you know? And so there's that, but then also I had the final nail in the coffin, just realization that this is never going to serve me in any way, shape, or form. I am its servant.
Right.
And anytime I try to do anything, I can you tell me a shrimp fried this rice, you can get 100 something likes out of it because nobody's going to remember you for that or care about you as a writer or whatever. As soon as you say, "Hey, I have a book. It's called God's Fair No Better. Here's the cover. Check it out." The machine goes chung 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 chung. Because number one, you're not paying for ads, and it doesn't like that. But number two, especially with Twitter, I think it's a little bit more insidious. I don't think Twitter likes books for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're going to promote a thing that's going to keep you away.
Yeah.
Video games is different because you can game and scroll and game and scroll. You can't really read and scroll.
Yeah.
So I'm a conspiracy theorist.
No,
about
I
that
think
in
there's
that
I
respect.
think there's something to it. I've been trying to kind of figure out like what are the subtleties of the new Twitter algorithm, and you know, it's a subtle revision. And when Elon first got involved, it seemed great because it was like, you know, we're not just going to kick people off because they like had a, you know, they called somebody a retard or whatever. But like at the same time, there's so much like algorithm engineering that was like, one thing that was crazy that I noticed was I started making a lot of like short form video, like just clips from podcasts and stuff. And you can't tell this, obviously. It's just got to kind of go by feel and experience. But like, I swear to God, those, when I tweet those, they get throttled. And I'm like, how are you throttling? Why are you throttling a 2-minute video? Like, isn't this what this what Twitter wants? Like, in my head, I thought that's what Twitter would want to have, right? But apparently it's not. And I think it's because it has figured out that somewhere along the line, I'm trying to get people to go somewhere else off of Twitter using that video as bait, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
Yeah.
And and there are things that it has consigned to, like, people are always going to go watch movies.
Right.
So movies don't get throttled.
Right.
But think about this. Don't think about it in terms of your podcast. Think about it in terms of podcasts in general.
Right.
When you go on the like Spotify or whatever, and you just start scrolling through podcasts, you think, why have I never seen any of these? Like, you would think it's the most popular podcast in the world. Right. And you're like, I've never seen this person in my fucking life. It's because I'm a fucking creep. Like I'm a Twitter mutant who has never seen these things because Twitter has kept me from seeing these things. Right. Because you can't really listen to a podcast and scroll at the same. It's whatever you can do and scroll at the same time.
Then they're cool with it.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And it also knows that if you go to watch a movie, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to Twitter, tweet about it.
Yeah. No.
TV shows the same shit.
Right. That's really interesting. I want to I got a few more questions for you, but we're going to kind of gradually get ourselves to the end here. One is, so one thing I've also been kind of interested in is I have sort of guests on. I start thinking, because I realize I have and I think we all do, and this is maybe part of what the machine is doing too. There's a sort of amnesia that we develop. And I had this thought, I may have even mentioned this on the last podcast I was on, where I was showing something to my wife that I came across on Twitter, and she was like, "Oh, who is this that you're following?" And I was like, I just said what their name was. And she's like, well, why did you follow them? Not in an accusatory way, just genuinely curious. And I was like, I have no idea when or why I started following. I couldn't tell you. And my whole list is that way. So I got thinking about, man, racking my brain. When was my first sort of interaction with JDO? And I think a couple of years back, either I mentioned Sparkmaster Tape and you responded to it, or you mentioned Sparkmaster Tape and I responded to it. Does that sound right? Is that possible?
It sounds 100% right. I mean, I love Sparkmaster Tape. Yeah.
You're the only other person that I know who I haven't exposed to Sparkmaster Tape, who knows Sparkmaster Tape. What is your, like, what's your, I was going to say relationship. Like, what's your thing with Sparkmaster Tape?
It's really funny, man. So I was big into like the mid to early 2000s indie rap.
Mm-hmm. Same.
I followed the record label Mishka, who put out a bunch of cool shit, and they put out Sparkmaster Tape Swoop Serengeti.
Yeah.
And so they put that out. I watched the videos, the gas masks, the neon, the pitch shifted voice, and I was like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. So I became like a super fan of Sparkmaster Tape. And a funny story that happened was he disappeared after the Swoop Serengeti. Mm-hmm. He came back, maybe he was gone for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And nobody had heard anything,
then,
like no songs, no singles. And then he started coming back with like Baseball Bat Boy and
Silhouette of a Sunken City.
Silhouette of Sunken City, yeah. So when Silhouette of a Sunken City was coming out, he went back on Twitter, right? And the profile picture was the album cover, and it was tweeting, his like normal Sparkmaster Tape shit. And so I DM'd and I was like, I'm a super fan. I'm a writer. Can we like collab on something? Can we? He was like, yeah, of course. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Let's do it. Not really. Because I exchanged emails back and forth with this guy forever. And you're not going to believe this, but he got all these people to follow because Sparkmaster Tape. It was not Sparkmaster Tape.
Oh.
It was a guy who was trying to sell weed pens to people. And so on album release day, and this did not turn out well for this person at all, because this is like the worst marketing idea of all time. When the album came out, the profile picture switched to like, Super Kratom, whatever, And I remember actually checking that and it taking a second for it to click with what just happened. And I was like, you mother... Like, you were just bullshitting the whole time. Like, did the whole Spark thing.
Wow.
But, so I think that's another good example of somebody who has proliferated throughout the internet, who also I don't think he really is on it like that. Right. I might be wrong. Yeah. Maybe he is.
It's hard to tell. But, well, the one thing is he has sort of come and gone and disappeared, and it's not even, I mean, I think really the thing to think about is probably really more like it's multiple. I think Sparkmaster Tape is actually multiple people, not necessarily the voice, but this is a whole, like,
sure.
It's
well, yeah, it's who's the producer who does everything?
There's a couple. There's is it Charlie? There's Charlie something.
He always says that on the
that's
the
somebody
songs,
associated with it. But the paper platoon, which I know seems to be a couple of people or whatever. Yeah, man, it's such
another Broken River inspiration.
Yeah, right.
Is the paper platoon.
Was it really? Yeah. See, I totally can see that now. I mean, I'm trying to remember. Like, I think I used to go on Hip Hop Heads on the Hip Hop Heads subreddit a lot. And one day, God, it must have been like 2010. Like, I don't know when the first album, Syrup Splashin' or whatever, came out, but that cover that's like the Chronic, but it's purple and black, and it's that super nerdy kid from like the 80s. Mullet. Yeah. I was like, what the hell is this? And it was M80, and I was like, this is the best song. Like, at the time, I was like, I don't know if I've ever heard a rap song this good, actually. And I just went down the rabbit hole. But fascinating dude, and like, I don't know. It's kind of cool that he didn't get. Oh, and I also he or they were supposed to tour with Run the Jewels in like 2016-ish, and I bought tickets for it and everything. And then I think Sparkmaster Tape may have gone to jail. It was never clear what happened, but he was just suddenly off all his tour dates. You kind of you get the impression from like the videos and just the music itself that he's actually
a menace.
It seems
Like,
like it. Yeah, right?
like he's kind of a crazy guy.
Yeah, yeah,
And I don't know, I really like artistic expressions of craziness that are genuine
yeah,
in that way.
yeah,
And I think that's what pulled me toward it.
yeah.
I was always a big like I've always liked music like that sometimes isn't great as music. Like I was a big Mindless Self-Indulgence
Mm.
fan. I don't know if you remember
Yeah, I
them
do. I never
from
got into it, but
they're
yeah.
kind of an artifact of the early 2000s. And like Dog Fashion Disco was another band that I really liked. But I got the impression listening to their music that these were genuinely strange people, but also fun.
Mhm.
There always has to be an element of fun to
Sure.
it, which is why I've never gotten into stuff like, Norwegian black
Yeah,
metal. Or
yeah.
I can't.
Same.
It doesn't sound good, and it just makes you feel bad, and
Right,
I don't like it.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, no. Sparkmaster Tape always struck me as somebody who was like a real problem,
Right, right, right.
you know,
Yeah.
and was hiding the voice maybe for a reason.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I got that. Yeah, eventually you do get that impression of like, oh yeah, he probably doesn't he needs to not have people know who he is and know where he is. But it ends
Yeah.
up being this like really cool like play with identity. And you think that the voice is going to be annoying, and it's not to me at all.
No,
I love
never.
it. But yeah, no, for people, we're talking some stuff that probably nobody else in my audience is into.
Go
You
listen to it. It's
should-
fun.
They should, dude. The first, and they're all pretty good. Silhouette of a Sunken City is amazing, in my opinion. They're all
It's great.
all the full albums are pretty good. I don't. It's not like every single thing he's done is equally good, but man, there are some. If you're into hip hop at all and you haven't heard
Yeah.
any Sparkmaster Tape, just go on YouTube and start poking around.
You should go listen
Yeah.
to it. I have a heist novel that I've been wanting to write for a long time that I was gonna name Half of Nepal.
Nice. Yeah.
Just yeah.
Yeah. No, man, that guy's so good. Yeah, Sparkmaster Tape. He also did. He did a few years back. He did a verse a day for 40 days. And you can listen to it all as one big file, and it's awesome. Like the whole thing.
I haven't heard
it's
that. That
so
sounds
good.
cool.
Yeah, and every one is just whatever. It's like 16 bars or 64. I can never count those, but like it's 30 seconds to a minute maybe. But he's doing one every day, and a lot of them are crazy.
They're
good.
so like also the thing is that they're really funny.
They are. He's hilarious.
I've never been able to get down. Like I really liked, of course, like Aesop Rock and MF Doom, and which Aesop Rock's new album, by the way, is really
I
good.
haven't listened to that. I'll check it out.
There's a really cool YouTube video that he did that's in this like video game supermarket, and your character is just wandering the supermarket while the whole album plays. It's a cool idea. But I've always liked them because there's a personality that shines through, and I could never really get into hip hop that was too much. Like a lot of people like rest in peace, but they like Ka is an example of this. Who's Brooklyn rapper, but it's all like very dark. And even when I listen to dark hip hop, if it was Earl Sweatshirt, it's still funny,
Right.
And there's still a personality there to it.
Yeah.
So he is. He has like. Let me think of a good example. Like there'll be a song where he'll talk about. He'll say like he's in the hood, and his gun barrel is so long that he can shoot you while you're sitting in a lawn chair while he's in his own lawn, and it creates this image of a guy just across the street with a gun, just like shooting another. It's goofy
No, a lot of
and
it is goofy.
sometimes nonsensical,
Right.
but it's so fucking
But
funny.
then he,
man.
weirdly enough, I
really
think
like
the
that.
thing that really hooked me was like the humor and the menace. And then like every once in a while, there's a song that's like, I guess the Sparkmaster Tape version of a ballad, and you're like, oh, that's actually like really poignant and kind of touching.
It's all
Yeah.
about his brother dying. So I
Right.
think his brother is really dead.
I think so too. Yeah.
Because he has multiple songs about his brother being shot.
Right.
The M80 is one of
Yeah,
them. Like
yeah.
his very first song on his first mixtape mentions that.
Yeah.
But then as you go through his catalog, like you said, every 20th song or whatever will be about not some dead friend.
Right.
But like he's like, no, my brother is
Right.
dead, and it's my fault
Right.
that happened
And-
because I brought him into this, and then
Which
so there's kind of this really interesting dramatic crime story behind the whole thing too, which I don't know. Maybe that's gross to say about someone's
No,
maybe real life,
well,
but all the
he's
artifice I feel gives me a pass.
he's turned it he turned it into art for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough.
I'm super big on Sparkmaster tape. Couple other things. One thing I'd like to ask everybody, and I should have maybe I should have mentioned this before we even started talking, but I like to get I'd like to get the JDO personal canon. And what I mean by this is like 2 or 3 books that maybe you feel are a little bit underappreciated or maybe not, but 2 or 3 books that are like super important to you and that you think everybody should read or most people should read.
I like this question. The immediate one that comes to mind is Last Days by Brian Evanson.
Okay, yeah.
So Brian Evanson, also the sweetest man who's ever lived. He was a Mormon, and he left the church, and a lot of his work kind of deals with this. It's some of the best line by line prose writing that I've ever read. I mean, he's a total master. But Last Days is a pretty slim novel that was birthed out of an even slimmer novella called The Brotherhood of Mutilation. And it's about a detective who is investigating this cult of people who amputate their limbs. Yeah. And as it goes on, he descends into madness and begins amputating his limbs. Yeah. Good shit.
Yeah, it's super.
So
it's
Last
so
Days.
Yeah.
Oh, you've read it.
I have read
Okay.
Last Days. It's
Cool.
incredible. Yeah, yeah. I was one of those.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those. I might have just read that in one sitting.
Yeah, I think it is a one sitting book for sure.
Yeah.
And then we mentioned The Velvet earlier, so a book called Kiss Me Judas by Will Christopher Bear, I think is a canonical novel of mine because I'm hugely prose focused. I can't, for as much as I focus on plot and structure, I can't keep writing unless the sentences actually sing.
Yeah.
So and I mean, dude, go to Amazon, read the sample, read the first page, and you will immediately see what I mean. This guy, fascinating dude too. I'm Facebook friends with him now. He wrote these 3 books, this trilogy, about this noir detective and this femme fatale, and then had a book coming out called Godspeed that I was super stoked for. Had it pre-ordered on Amazon like in 2008 or 9 or whatever, and it never came out, and we never heard from him for like a decade.
Whoa.
And everybody's like, where is he? Like, where did he go? And he was working at a psych ward as an orderly, and he threw everything away, and now he's kind of I don't know if he's writing a book, but now mostly on Facebook he just writes about how much he hates Trump, which is fine. Yeah. That's okay. But I would really love a book.
Right.
Will, if you're out there. Chris. No, he goes by Chris. Chris, if you're out there. But Kiss Me Judas is just
right on. And
that book was in Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
I bought those books in the big box store.
Huh.
So there was this moment, just real quick. I do think, and I don't mean to open up a huge can of worms. We don't have to talk about this, but something.
I'm happy to talk about whatever.
Okay, cool. So something that people talk about a lot now is, again, how phones have completely destroyed like young men's ability to read.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not true. It's partially true. But when I was a young man, I had like Chuck Palahniuk, I had Mark Danielewski with House of Leaves, I had Will Christopher Bear, I had all these things that I could find as a young dude. And they're all dudes. Sorry, there were no female writers at this time that I was interested in.
They existed, yeah.
But they existed, but they did not exist in my head space. I was like, ooh, a girl wrote that. But that doesn't exist right now.
Right.
You know, and I think if that existed, I think that would fix a lot. Books that aren't actually about like Tao Lin style. Right, like being autistic and disconnected and weird, but books that were written by men that are just very kind of aggressively prose heavy, but also pulpy and fun and cool. Like I think that could really make a comeback, but I just I don't see a ton of it. But those are I'll say those are my two. Last Days and Kiss Me Judas.
Nice, excellent. Yeah, those are good. Yeah, I love Last Days. So I will I'll put Kiss of Judas.
Kiss Me, Judas.
Kiss Me Judas. I'll put that on the list for sure. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I guess as we close down here, it'll be in the show notes or whatever. But what's the easiest way for people to find you? Where's the place to go?
Oh, now that I don't have Twitter,
You're on Substack, BRBJDO.
Substack.
Yeah.
Yep,
Place.
yep. So I do kind of two Substacks. I do the Broken River one, and then I do mine, which has been neglected, which is American Shinto. But you can find it all if you look for BRBJDO at .substack.com, and then yeah, just go check out the books.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just go read the books.
Do it.
You know, God's Fair No Better is it's a fun time. It's a long book, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And Berserker Club will be fun.
Yeah.
And then I'll keep doing
Awesome.
that till I die.
Yeah, coming out December 1st. Also coming out with another Broken River Collective member, Kelby's book,
Kelby.
Texas Tea, right? It's coming out the same day.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep, Texas Tea's coming out the same day. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I'm planning on November. And I was like, okay, I need to do one more pass through the book. So what if we did December and we released at the same time?
Yeah, instead of being like, well, we don't want to step on each other's feet. Like, let's just,
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
I love it. Well, sir, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate the time. And like I said, reinvigorating my spirits a little bit, at least on the exterior aspect of writing. So I really do appreciate that. And yeah, man, let's we'll find a way to do this or an excuse to do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right, man. Thanks.